looking back to those who lived in fear. There was nothing I could do. There was nothing you said that could make me realize how much lucky I was. Just out of reach of the fire, was not aware of the nightmare. But when I start to see through light, begging for help, begging for hope, just need to open my eyes now to try to change them to sunshine, to be someone among others. I've got to try. If I bleed tonight, if I exist tonight, I don't have the time to find. If I wait tonight, I'm so tired tonight, I fall asleep when I'm alone. When I'm alone, when you go, no one can see through that side of your eyes. I can see my life is crap. I have to see them too. I just live into my world, far from the pain, the feel. Was out of reach of the fire, was not aware of the start of hell. But when I start to see through light, begging for help, begging for hope, just need to open my eyes now to try to change them to sunshine, to be someone among us.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is Monday, it is 7 p.m., and that means it is time for the Locker Room Breakdown. I am your host, OMD. Bubba Duke is on assignment again, working the shoot job tonight, and everybody else is getting ready for the Raw Patrol. I'm a bit under the weather here today, so please bear with me. But let's get right into it, shall we? Last week, very, very interesting Raw as we gear up towards Backlash, which is coming up this Saturday, May the 10th, by the way. So tonight is the go-home show, but last week, to start things off, we had Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Paul Heyman address their actions and ensure that they get their vision across. That they are the vision of future success for the WWE. Now, this was interrupted by Sami Zayn, who again played on his and Seth's longtime friendship, going back to the Indies and going back over 20 plus years. They even offered a pass to Sami Zayn, saying, go to SmackDown and you won't be a target. I mean, really, they gave Sami until the end of the night to make his choice, so we will get to Sami's choice in a little bit. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, we did have Rhea Ripley defeating Roxanne Perez via a DQ when Julia interfered, leading Io Sky to come out. Now, we know that, going into WrestleMania, it was a tentative, rocky relationship with Rhea and Io. Even though they had fought together on the same team at Survivor Series War Games back in November. I apologize. So, I mean, this was a banger of a match. Mr. Best coming in. Good evening to you, sir, saying he gets a feeling that it will be the same thing tonight, but Rhea will make the save. Probably. Now, we did see as well, and I haven't watched it yet, but we did see this past Tuesday that Io Sky went to NXT and faced Roxanne Perez there on what is both of their home turf, so to speak. So we're just going to have to wait and see how all of this plays out. I'm not going to be surprised if this leads to a tag team match at Backlash this coming weekend. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, Logan Paul. Bubba Duke's all-time favorite. Yes, Bubba, I had to get that shot in there for you. He appeared live and he challenged Jey Uso. Good on him. I think that would be a banger of a match, to be honest with you. The last time Logan Paul, outside of his U.S. title run, the last time he had a world title match was in Saudi Arabia a few years ago against Roman Reigns, where everybody can remember the splash from the top rope onto the announcer's table saying, "Roman, you want to go viral," and he's filming it as he's doing it. So, I mean, again, good on him. I do think that Logan Paul is a future world champion. I know there's a lot of people that don't like him because he is brash, because he is arrogant. You know what? Wrestling is a business of egos. And yes, I mean, he puts his mind to something, he gets it done. Like, we cannot deny that from him. So again, I cannot wait to see this match, and if it takes place, Mr. Best coming in again saying that that was one of his favorite Logan Paul matches. Yeah, I can absolutely see why. I can absolutely see why, my friend. Thank you. Up next, we had a number one contenders match between the War Raiders and the Judgment Days, Finn Balor and JD McDonough, with the winner going to get a title shot against the New Day, which, again, a fantastic match. And welcome back, JD McDonough. How we have missed you. My God, ladies and gentlemen, is there anything this guy can't do? Yes, the War Raiders won, which really wasn't a surprise. I was kind of hoping we would get it to a triple threat match, but it was a clean victory, a legit victory, and I wouldn't expect anything less from the War Raiders. But this was a tag team clinic for this match. And, I mean, you can't go wrong when you're putting those four guys together. It could have been a fatal four-way. It would have been magic. It could have been, as we got last week, the tag match. It could have been one-on-one. But again, ladies and gentlemen, brilliant match. The War Raiders get a tag team title rematch against the New Day. Not sure when that's going to be. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, and I do apologize if it seems like we're rushing, really because I don't have any other insight to get right now. It's going a little bit faster than anticipated as well. Being under the weather, I was hoping to not necessarily have a shorter episode, but be able to get a little less in-depth today. Then we had Becky Lynch addressing her attack on Lyra Valkyria. What we saw at WrestleMania, Becky Lynch and Lyra win the women's tag team titles, only to lose them the very next night on Raw, back to Liv and Raquel. And that was when Becky turned and pulled an about face and attacked Lyra. Now, I believed it didn't have anything to do with the Women's Intercontinental title. I think it had to do with their history in NXT, with Lyra having been the one to take the title off of Becky. And Becky really putting over Lyra in that moment. Now, Lyra, of course, interrupted this and telling Becky, this was always a dream of mine. Two girls from Dublin, essentially the Irish last kickers, teaming up, working, doing it all, eventually leading to that one-on-one match that they would both deserve. But it could have been done differently. And Becky saying, no, basically, I'm not going to fight now unless it's worth my time or the money's right. And Lyra saying, well, that's fine then. I guess we'll fight at Backlash. And let me guess, you're not going to fight without this championship on the line? Well, fine, you've got it. Now, hopefully, I'm hoping that Lyra retains. Becky to me is now in that same position as Charlotte Flair. She doesn't need to come back and be right in line for a title. So I am okay. And I realize that this is the quote unquote secondary championship, but Becky has already proven that she's been a workhorse. She doesn't need to prove that. Lyra is the current workhorse and going strong. So I think that Lyra really needs this victory more. Now, I could also see Lyra getting the victory via a DQ. And going from there, setting up a bigger match, say, at SummerSlam. But we've just got to wait and see how all of this is going to play out. Up next, in a match that going into the show I was completely unaware of, the NXT Women's Champion Stephanie Vaquer defeats Ivy Nile. And again, another fantastic women's showcase. Mr. Best coming in saying Becky is definitely nothing like Charlotte. She'll put people over. Well, I'm with you there, but that's why I said Becky doesn't need. For me, Becky is in that same boat because, she's coming back and gunning right for the title, and she doesn't need to do that. But we had Stephanie Vaquer defeating Ivy Nile. Again, I don't remember a whole lot of this match, but knowing what Stephanie Vaquer and Ivy Nile can do, this was probably an absolute banger and a clinic. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will excuse me for a moment, I will be right back. All right. I apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen. So again, like I said, I don't remember too much of this match. This match came as a surprise to me for Raw last week. So again, I can't elaborate really any further on it, unfortunately. Then we had Pat McAfee addressing the situation that happened with Gunther himself and Michael Cole the week before on Raw. And Pat McAfee making it abundantly clear that he's going to stay loyal to those that are loyal to him. And basically called Michael Cole his ride or die, his best friend. And I love it. I am all for it. Pat McAfee, amazing on the mic, amazing promo skills. He asked for Gunther's suspension to be lifted. And we got our first appearance from our special guest surprise GM. SmackDown's general manager, Nick Aldis, was in charge of Raw last week. And that was okay. That was scheduled. It was planned. And he said, well, we can't lift Gunther's suspension yet, but we will. And you can have him one-on-one at Backlash. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have not seen Pat McAfee wrestle, I encourage you to do so. Go on the YouTube and go look up War Games from NXT with Pat McAfee. You watch what this guy can do. He is brilliant. Up next, and lastly, to close out Raw, we had Seth Rollins coming out. And in this case, he came out on his own. Without Paul Heyman, without Paul Heyman, without Braun Breaker, to ask for Sami Zayn's answer. And again, Sami Zayn came out and they went back and forth. And Sami's basically said to him, you're full of crap. I am not taking this pass. And Sami had lots of advice, whether it was Jey Uso, Paul Heyman himself, and others, all trying to get into his ear. But it was Jey Uso that really got to Sami. And Sami told Seth, go to hell, which was then where we got Braun Breaker and Paul Heyman coming out. Braun dressed to compete, which Sami was not. We were not expecting Sami Zayn to wrestle last week, but that is exactly what we got. And if anybody remembers, we had Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker had those battles last year for the Intercontinental Championship. And good on them. This was, again, another fantastic match from those two. But it ended in referee stoppage after 3 spears from Braun Breaker. But I really find this unsettling because you just had Sami Zayn return on the Raw after WrestleMania last week or 2 weeks ago to then come out last week, eat these 3 spears, and probably get written off of TV again. I don't know. Not necessarily something I would have done to book it like this right away. But we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, on to tonight, and we really don't have a whole lot to cover. So again, we are going to get tonight, Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Paul Heyman will deliver a message. What is that message? Is it going to be, this is the vision, this is the future of pro wrestling, this is the future of WWE as we know it? Is it going to be, this is what we are capable of, this is what we are going to do if you stand in our way? And it's going to be interesting to see who is going to come out, interrupt them in this situation, if anybody. Now, I got to be honest with you. There are certain people that I would pick to come out in this situation, but maybe a returning Sheamus. Maybe you do get somebody back from injury. Maybe you get... I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be very, very interesting to see. In his first match back in WWE tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Rusev will compete against Otis. After he came out and took out the Alpha Academy a couple of weeks ago on the Raw after WrestleMania. Now, we know that the New Day turned around, hightailed it out of there, so we don't know if Rusev would have taken all four of them, if it was just the one, whoever it was. But we know what he is capable of. We haven't seen him. Last week, we did get a little video package showing what he is capable of. And I hope they allow him to be the monster and the redeemer that he is. I do not want to get a watered-down, bastardized Rusev. I want the ass-kicking machine. In this case, ladies and gentlemen, I want a squash match. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, JD McDonough versus Penta. And I am going to go out on a limb here and call this my match of the night. These two are going to blow the roof off of the arena. I know, Mr. Best, but it's something I want. But JD McDonough and Penta, these two can do it all. This is going to be a technical lucha style match. This is going to be, there's going to be no roof left on the arena tonight. As I said earlier, is there anything JD McDonough can't do? Now, I'm starting to see Penta fall into a little bit of a trap here again, where he was hot, and now he's sort of tapering off into the enhancement talent. And that's just my opinion. Much like he was utilized elsewhere, I think he deserves a little bit better. Now, I do have Penta going over in this match. And I'm good with that. But, I mean, I'd love to see JD pull off the win, too. We know that there is going to be shenanigans involved with the Judgment Day and whatever else. So we will have to wait and see how things play out. As my friend Mr. Best alluded to earlier as well, we get Io Sky and Roxanne Perez one more time here tonight. We saw this match happen on Tuesday. We're getting it again tonight here on Raw. And after the situation over the last 2 weeks where Io saved Rhea saved Io, and Rhea said, well, we're even. I think Mr. Best is right. I think this is still going to be a fantastic, fantastic showcase of women's wrestling. This is going to be brilliant. I would not be surprised to see Julia and Rhea both interfere and this result in either the tag match tonight or at Backlash. But I do want to see this match, and I cannot wait. And lastly, as far as we know, Becky Lynch calls out Lyra Valkyria. This is going to go back and forth. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is the go-home show for Backlash. And this is going to be huge. Now, what are we going to get in this? Are we going to get fisticuffs? Are we just going to get a verbal tirade? Are we going to get what we've been getting where, oh, so-and-so is supposed to call out so-and-so, but the other comes out to flip the script, so to speak? Mr. Best, I was not aware Gunther was going to be on the show tonight. It was not in the information I was sent. So it is going to be very interesting to see where this goes, how this is going to break down. I'm sure we know that Becky Lynch is going to try and get the upper hand with an attack, but who knows? You never know what we can get in this day and age. I did not know that. I haven't seen Adam Pearce's stuff today in my socials. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we do get Adam Pearce back tonight. Back running Raw, which is where he needs to be. Now, I mean, last week it was a refreshing change, and because you've got this draft coming up, I did pose the question: are we going to see the GMs flip, or do we just see them stay where they are? And this was talked about amongst the guys here at Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. The consensus seemed to be that the GMs stayed put. But I guess if Gunther is going to be on the show tonight, let's address that. Is he going to get physical, or is he just going to come out and address Pat McAfee? And I'm sure he's going to come out to address Pat McAfee. We know that Pat is brilliant on the mic. Hopefully, this doesn't translate into anything physical and that we don't lose Pat for the evening going into Backlash. But again, we don't know. Anything can happen in this day and age of WWE. With that, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, I don't have anything more to address here tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are looking to find ourselves, I do want to give a shout out to this guy here. This is my man, the Bulkster. If it wasn't for him, things wouldn't happen here at the Locker Room Breakdown. You catch him on YouTube and on TikTok, both at Bulkster Show. He is the guy that gets us the review. He is the guy that gets us the preview. My partner in crime, Bubba Duke. Again, he is off working the shoot job tonight. You can find him on YouTube at Bubba OMD and on Twitch at Boar's Nest with Bubba Duke. That's where he does a lot of his solo streaming and gaming. As for me, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for me, You can find me on my socials at Linktree, linktr.ee/OMD show. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, again, I know this was a shorter show. I was hoping a little bit more time, but we'll have to wait and see how things play out. But ladies and gentlemen, from all of us here at the Locker Room Breakdown and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program, to those of you out there, wherever you are, good night, good luck. I'm out.